Hey everybody, and welcome back to my series called Teaching Titans, where we are talking about how to move from being a typical teacher to a teaching titan. So in this series, I'm going to be talking to you just about different ideas, philosophies, and tactics, questions that I have, thoughts that I have, so that we can get into a discussion and be the best teachers and administrators we can be. If you're really interested in this topic, then I want to warmly welcome you to like and subscribe to this video so you can support what I do and be aware of when new videos are coming out. And in today's video, it may seem like a simple topic, but I think the repercussions of this topic are quite monumental and meaningful. And the topic is shortcuts that teachers take. And I want to encourage you not to take these 3 shortcuts. And these types of shortcuts, once we get into them, I think you're going to begin to see how they can be indicative of how average teachers tend to behave and typical teachers tend to behave. And I also don't want to make it seem like I am perfect in this regard and I've never done these things. I have done these kinds of things from time to time, especially in the years when I was newer to it, when I was younger, maybe a little less responsible. But these are things I've come to learn are really important, and I try to uphold more now, and I'm going to tell you why. So the first shortcut that teachers tend to take has relationship with punctuality, and that is being on time and doing your time, or teaching your full allotment of class periods every time you have class. So I think with teachers, we tend to feel like we want that autonomy, we relish that, we enjoy that, and also we like to feel that we are the kings and queens of our little kingdoms. We don't like to have people breathing down our neck and telling us when to, that we need to be on time for class, and if we're running a few minutes late on a given day, we want to feel like we have the power and the control and the freedom to be a little bit late if we need to, or to perhaps dismiss class a little early if we need to. Sometimes teachers like to dismiss class a little early if for a reward, perhaps, if the students had a really good day and they were really productive, or maybe it's for a less constructive reason as that. But anyway, for one reason or another, sometimes teachers will get into this habit of coming a little bit late, leaving a little bit early, and everyone likes to think this is something that they do just once in a while, but I think it opens the door to doing it more and more casually until it becomes a commonplace occurrence, until it gets to the point where if you were to total all the time you arrived to class late or left class early, it could well equal 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 periods across a term. And this is time that you're getting paid for. This is actually time that the student's money and the student's family's money is going into your pocket for, and you're not delivering. So that's where I think the issue of responsibility comes in. We need to realize that there's a sort of invisible learning going on here too, which is the students see that you are casual about being on time. So they may learn to not be punctual themselves. So you're missing out on a big chance to deliver a valuable life lesson to them, which is punctuality is important. If you're not early, then you are late. I think punctuality is a virtue, definitely. So that's the first shortcut that teachers tend to take. I don't think you should take this shortcut. I think you should teach all the time that you've been assigned, make it valuable, and even staying a little bit late or coming a little bit early can show that you're willing to do more, and you can give a little extra help to students who really need it, or connect with students who really want to be closer to you. Okay, the second point concerns having backup plans. This is another shortcut I see teachers take sometimes, which is they don't put enough thought into having backup plans. So what happens is when things go wrong, they tend to fall apart. When the technology fails or the lesson fails, then they tend to fail. And the lesson becomes pretty much useless and time really starts to get wasted. And I see this as taking a shortcut because as teachers we know the value of preparation and planning. We can always plan backups, but we maybe choose not to just because we're being a little bit lazy and again taking a shortcut. So I think the more complex your lesson is, I mean, that can be great. We can be really impressed and appreciate very meaningful, complex, intricate, and highly engaging lesson plans. We can all agree that's good. But I think the more complex your lesson plans are, the more moving parts they have, the more they depend on technology or perhaps certain students in the class to come through, or maybe an outside resource, be it a person, a place, or a thing to sort of come through for that lesson. The more your lesson is like that, the more you have to put in time to have some backup plans because more can go wrong with those sorts of lessons. So you need something to fall back on. Whereas if the lesson plans are simpler and have less that can go wrong, then I would say you still need at least one reasonable backup plan, but the backup plans become a little less important because there's much less that can go wrong with the lessons. It may be useful to you to have a notebook of some backup plans that don't require much planning or materials that you can whip out at a moment's notice. Maybe just make a list of some activities or games that work with any content or any lesson, so you just have that in case something goes wrong. It can be as simple as that, can get you over those kinds of humps. But backup plans is key, especially if you're planning to move into the administrative layer. I often have to organize meetings and events, and sometimes people are surprised that I'm testing technology and getting the room set up just one day in advance. They think it's too early, and that sometimes shocks me because I think really more than one day in advance would be better. But in advance of meetings and things like that, I like to make sure everything's working as well as it can the day before. Of course, the day of, I also check it out because things can change. But it's just, don't take that shortcut of thinking you can just fly away and not have any backup plans prepared. All right, and the last shortcut I see teachers tend to take is texting during class. Now, this is an interesting one. I think a lot of us, we've fired off a text or a short little email from class sometimes. As a director, I certainly don't care if it happens once in a while, and I've done it from time to time myself as a teacher. Also, if it's an emergency, of course, or something really important, that can also be understood and reason enough to send the text. But what surprises me sometimes is that teachers text me or post something in our teachers' groups during class time when I know they have class, and it's about something inconsequential. So it shows me that the teachers are on the phone during the class. And another thing is that sometimes when I walk around and I'm doing observations or I'm just sort of roaming the halls, sometimes I may see a teacher looking down at their phone. Now, typically when this happens, it's because the teachers have already assigned the students some work to do, and they think that gives them then the permission to take care of some of their own business on their phone, or even to leave the classroom to maybe go to the office and get something done real quick. They feel like the ball is in the students' court and they can take their hands off the wheel. But again, sort of like being on time, this is a sort of a bad habit, which it seems rather innocuous in the beginning, and you self-validate, you rationalize it, you say, oh, it's not happening that much. But actually, it's becoming a habit and it's adding up. And when you're in class, it's really important that you're conferring with the students and crouching next to them, being a part of what they're working on, asking some questions, lending some advice. Even when the class is working on something, You should be actively delivering value, not taking care of rather trivial things, or things at least that can wait until a break time. And it's really an amazing phenomenon because, as we know, the cell phone addiction has really taken over students. They're having trouble to separate their phone, their more trivial phone checking from their classwork. But now here we have more and more teachers doing it too. Teachers who, if you pull them aside and talk to them, they may say this is something really important that the students shouldn't do. Well, they're in fact doing it. So we need to be good role models, we need to be good examples. And really, even during the breaks, I don't like to be on my phone because sometimes during the break, students like to come out of their shell and come to chat with me a little bit. I want to be available for that. So check your phone usage. Don't take a shortcut here. The shortcut is thinking, I want to burn through a couple of little items on my to-do list right here while the students are doing this textbook exercise, and that will allow me to be more efficient a little later in my day. Let me just take care of this real quick right now. It's a shortcut. It's undercutting your ability to be a more effective teacher and a more effective leader. So these are the 3 shortcuts that I hope you will not take, and I hope they're indicative of the larger issue here I want to point out through this series, which is we don't want to fall victim to the typical things that typical teachers let themselves fall into, the usual traps, the usual rationalizations, the usual excuses. We want to move above and beyond that and do our work, execute our work at a high level. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye for now.